In episode 56, Assigning Risk Owners and Action Owners, we focus on the simple truth that clear ownership prevents drift. Even the most elegant risk plan unravels without defined accountability. Someone must watch each uncertainty, interpret changes, and ensure responses move forward. Without that person, actions stall in polite ambiguity and exposure quietly regrows. Ownership transforms risk management from a shared hope into a governed practice. It creates a line of sight from identification to resolution, ensuring that decisions have custodians, not spectators. In disciplined programs, every significant risk has a name beside it, and that name changes everything. The first step is to distinguish risk owners from action owners. A risk owner is responsible for the overall health of the risk monitoring, probability, impact, and trend, and ensuring that treatments remain effective. An action owner executes specific tasks designed to manage or mitigate that risk. One person might hold both roles, but conceptually they are different. The risk owner sees the horizon, the action owner drives the vehicle. Confusing the two leads to blind spots, either strategic oversight without progress or activity without direction. Separating roles clarifies who watches and who works. Selecting owners should follow leverage, not hierarchy. The best owner is the person or role with the greatest ability to influence the outcome, not necessarily the one highest in rank. Sometimes this is a technical lead who understands the system deeply, or a supplier manager who controls vendor performance. Assigning ownership by authority alone often fails because influence flows differently in practice. Choose individuals positioned closest to the levers that change probability or impact. A well-chosen owner has both reach and motivation to move the metric, turning responsibility into practical control rather than symbolic assignment. Define authority, budget, and time for each ownership role at the moment of assignment. Without resources or permission, responsibility becomes stress rather than stewardship. Authority defines what decisions the owner can make independently. Budget defines what they can spend without escalation. Time defines when progress will be reviewed and outcomes measured. These boundaries create empowerment and guardrails simultaneously. Ownership clarity allows confidence. The owner knows their reach. Leadership knows accountability exists, and the system knows how quickly change can occur. Clear parameters convert nominal responsibility into real capability. Specify measurable responsibilities up front so performance can be assessed later. A risk owner's duties might include monitoring indicators weekly, updating exposure estimates quarterly, or coordinating cross-functional mitigation reviews. An action owner's metrics could involve delivery milestones, implementation effectiveness, or cost adherence. The key is precision. Tasks must be observable and verifiable. Ensure risk is managed means little. Complete supplier audit by June with corrective actions verified means everything. Defining measurable outcomes transforms ownership into a contract of intent, one that builds transparency and allows progress to be tracked objectively. Avoid co-ownership diffusion traps. Shared accountability often sounds inclusive but breeds paralysis. When two people own it, neither truly does. Collaboration is valuable, but ultimate accountability must rest with one role or individual. Others can be contributors, advisors, or stakeholders, but only one name should appear in the owner column. This rule may feel rigid, yet it prevents confusion when decisions diverge. In moments of uncertainty, clarity beats consensus. Assign a single accountable owner who coordinates input but remains answerable for outcomes. That clarity speeds action and protects relationships when performance is reviewed. Document handoffs and backup coverage to maintain continuity. Risks evolve over time. Staff move on, projects shift, and priorities change. A documented transfer record ensures that when ownership changes, context travels with it. Handoff documentation should include current exposure level, key assumptions, active mitigations, and pending decisions. Backups should be named explicitly, with authority to step in during absence or transition. This discipline turns ownership from personal memory into institutional practice. Continuity prevents regressions that occur when new owners restart analysis instead of continuing momentum. The organization moves seamlessly, not cyclically. Align incentives with the behaviors ownership should produce. If risk reduction shortens delivery but performance metrics reward schedule adherence only, owners may avoid reporting exposure honestly. Incentives must reinforce the value of transparency, early escalation, and steady progress rather than heroics under pressure. Recognition, evaluation criteria, and resource access should align so that responsible ownership feels rewarding, not risky. Behavioral alignment transforms governance from policing to motivation. When the system rewards the right instincts, ownership becomes natural rather than forced. Clarify escalation and decision rights so owners know when to act alone and when to involve leadership. Every role needs a defined threshold for when exposure, cost, or scope exceeds personal authority. Escalation paths prevent paralysis caused by fear of overstepping and chaos caused by unilateral overreach. Document these rights clearly in governance materials and reinforce them during training or review sessions. Decision rights empower owners to respond rapidly within limits and ensure that higher authorities step in when boundaries are crossed. This balance maintains speed without sacrificing oversight. Track commitments and progress through visible dashboards that make ownership public. Dashboards displaying open risks, assigned owners, and current status convert accountability from a private note to a shared view. Visibility promotes follow-through and fosters collective trust. Tools can be simple: spreadsheets, web portals, or integrated project systems. But the principle is constant. Everyone can see who is responsible for what and when. Public visibility is quiet pressure. It encourages timeliness without confrontation. It also highlights dependencies, reminding the organization that risk ownership connects across teams. Review performance regularly and remove barriers that block progress. Ownership is not only about responsibility, it is also about support. Regular check-ins allow managers to assess whether owners have sufficient data, authority, or cooperation to act. These reviews should feel constructive, not punitive. When leadership actively helps unblock constraints, owners remain motivated and confident. Reviewing performance also enables recognition of effective methods that can be replicated elsewhere. Continuous dialogue between owners and sponsors keeps the ecosystem healthy and adaptive. Rotate ownership roles periodically to build bench strength and resilience. Over time, deep familiarity can turn into complacency, and concentration of expertise can create single points of failure. Rotating roles develops fresh perspective and trains new talent in governance skills. It also distributes institutional knowledge more evenly, making the organization less dependent on individual heroes. Rotation should occur with deliberate overlap, so knowledge transfers smoothly. By cultivating a broader pool of experienced owners, you strengthen the continuity and adaptability of the risk management framework. Recognize exemplary ownership publicly. Praise is a powerful teacher. When someone manages a risk transparently, communicates early, and delivers effective action, highlight that behavior in meetings or reports. Public recognition signals what good looks like and encourages peers to emulate it. It also counters the cultural bias that sees risk management as negative or administrative work. Celebrating ownership reframes it as leadership in action, an attribute of professionals who protect value and enable success. Recognition closes the loop between accountability and pride. Ownership drives reliable outcomes because accountability fuels momentum. Clear lines of responsibility, defined authority, and aligned incentives keep uncertainty from drifting into neglect. When every risk and every response has an identifiable steward, progress becomes predictable and lessons flow naturally into the next cycle. Risk management stops being a side activity and becomes part of how the organization executes. In the end, ownership is the connective tissue between analysis and achievement, the quiet force that turns awareness into assurance and plans into performance. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.